Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laran, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaran.com. Hello and welcome to episode 108. 108 is a good number, and it feels like an eternity since I did my last Writer's Journey episode, and it's kind of funny because I just did it a week ago. I don't know about the rest of you, but this self-quarantine, staying-at-home stuff, the weeks just fly by, but at the same time, it feels like the prior week was 1,000 years ago. It's really, really weird. So I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody is being spared from the effects of the virus. And certainly I wish all you the best. And one of the things that I've been praying for every night is just everybody's well-being and safety. So please take care of yourselves. And in this week, what I wanted to talk about were a few different things that have been going on. The first is that I think I had mentioned this last week or in a prior week, but I've talked about it on all my other channels, and that is that I am in the middle of doing a new course. So I said last week, that contingency planning is something I feel very strongly about, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I am developing a course. And the name of that course is going to be called Writing in Hard Times. And I am, it's Wednesday night as I record this. So Thursday I should be done with the outline of the course and I'll be ready to start shooting. And my goal is to, take maybe 2 or 3 days to shoot, to get all the videos done. I think it'll be about 20 to 30 videos. And then it'll take me probably another 2 to 3 days to get everything edited. And then at some point early April, my goal is to roll this course out. The course will be free to those of you who are already in my audience, meaning if you are on my email list at authorlevelup.com/fan club, at the time that I release it, it will only be free for probably 48 hours, and then it will no longer be free. So if you are not a member of my fan club, authorlevelup.com/fan club, and the name of the course is called Writing in Hard Times. It is a guide to planning for the most difficult things that life can throw your way. So this was facilitated for me by the pandemic, but this is something that I've been doing for years. And it basically takes the principles of risk management and contingency planning, and it takes them and applies it to the writing life. How can you as a writer prepare for any disaster that life is going to throw your way? And if you've ever been thinking to yourself over the past 3 to 4 weeks, how did I get here? Am I going to be able to continue my writing? Or if you're worried about that, then this course will be very helpful for you. And as I said, I've been trying to funnel my energy into something that is productive, and this is the best way that I know how to do it and possibly help people as well. So stay tuned. It's going to be coming at you fast and furious. So I got 2 wins for the week. The first win is that my studio is now finally up and running. So if you haven't noticed, the acoustics are a little bit different. And the reason for that is because I am back in my basement and everything is ready to go. So I have officially, I'm good to go. So it was official when I got to hang this canvas that I bought on my wall. So I didn't feel like the studio was done until the canvas got hung. So it's finally hung, and if you want to check my Twitter account at twitter.com/Michael Laran, I've got some videos of the studio, and about the next 3 to 4 weeks, once my existing batch of videos on Author Level Up goes out, you will see the new studio in all of its glory. And it's funny when you change things around in your house, at least I found, at least for my Author Level Up videos, that it seems like every time I have to change things around, I'm always having to buy new equipment or do something that I didn't do before. So in my last house, I bought a DSLR camera because it was the right thing to do, because the room I was in was kind of odd and I needed something that would show me in the best possible light. But now because of the way that I have my studio, this DSLR camera that I have, the lens that I have, it's terrible for the setup. I've got a 50 millimeter lens, but I can't. I don't know if my camera people, you probably can understand this. So the 50 millimeter lens is great because it gives you that depth of field, and like you can blur the background, blur the background, and it just looks really nice. But the problem in my studio now is that it's like one long rectangle. And what I did was I used to use the 50 millimeter lens, and I would put the camera as far away from me as possible so that I could get that blurry background. But the way I've done it now is I've basically shifted everything. So I don't have the distance that I used to have. And so I can't get the camera far enough away from me without looking like it's a psycho close up. So what I'm doing now is it's kind of funny how things shift, at least for the near term. Because I don't really want to invest in any more equipment right now, just with the economy and wanting to keep more cash in the bank. I am switching back to shooting videos on my phone, believe it or not. So I will be shooting on my phone. It gives me a better wide angle lens, and I honestly I like the way that my phone shoots the videos right now a little bit better than my DSLR. So it's kind of funny how things happen. I'm back to how I started, which is what I always recommend that people do, which is shooting videos on your phone. So you will see those very shortly. And again, that's a major win for me for the week. The second win is a win that I would have never imagined would have happened in a million years. And that is that because of the coronavirus, my law school sent out an email and it said, well, we're very sorry that this coronavirus has happened. We understand that a lot of students are in hardship right now, and a lot of our professors are in hardship, and so on and so forth. And by the way, we're just going to automatically pass whatever classes you're in right now. So I have officially passed copyright law. Straight up. I got credit for the course. I'm good to go. And school's out until July. Now, the professor is still going to be doing like lectures and stuff, but I'm going to tune into the lectures, obviously, and I'm going to take notes, but I don't necessarily have to do anything else, which is amazing. So maybe I'll take the exam. I probably won't because I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on the material. But yeah, that's my second win for the week, and yeah, only 2 more classes left now, finally. So the lesson that I've learned this week that I wanted to share with all of you, and I wonder if this thought has gone through anyone else's head over the past week or couple weeks, is being stuck at home and working from home and learning how to get up from my desk and get out and do things around the house, and how to not go stir crazy. I've just been thinking, this is a really great practice for when you go full time as a full time writer. Like if you think about it, I mean, yeah, I have to work my insurance day job during the day. So, I mean, it's not like I have extra time to write, although I have been doing some writing stuff over my lunch breaks, just like I would do normally. But it's kind of interesting, right? So like we have this dream of being full-time writers. Why not try to learn from this experience? And I've been just kind of paying attention to myself and really liking working from home, and really liking the freedom that I have, and really liking the rhythm that I've fallen into over the last few days. And quite frankly, I don't know that I want to go back in the office. Honestly, I mean, I like being around people at the office, but I really do like this rhythm that I'm in right now. And so I thought, hey, one day when I do go full time as a writer, hopefully, maybe it'll be like this. Because this really isn't that bad. I know a lot of friends that are extroverts, and they're about ready to gnaw their arms off right now. This is just killing them. They can't stand it. But I think a lot of people listening to this, are probably introverts, and it's really not that bad. I mean, I stay home anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Now, am I still going a little stir crazy? Yes. I'm not going to say that this is paradise, but it's not the disaster scenario that I think a lot of extroverts are dealing with right now. It's kind of funny. Like I walk my neighborhood because I walk my dog, and I've talked to a few neighbors over the last few days, and you can definitely tell which ones are introverts and which ones are extroverts. Because the extroverts are constantly outside, like they're just constantly. So this is it's interesting how this is changing our daily habits. And what I wanted to spend the balance of the episode talking about were some thoughts that I've had on my mind over the past week or so that have to do not so much with the pandemic, because like I said, I really don't want to talk about that too much, because I know it's the number one thing on your all's mind right now, but it's not. We have to get to a new normal at some point, right? Like right now we're in a temporary normal. But what I've been thinking about is how a crisis like this is a terrible time to waste as a writer. And the reason I say that is because, okay, take all of the pandemic stuff, just set it in the corner for a second. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything right now, based on what I'm talking about. But think about it like this. We're spending more time at home, which means we're probably spending more time with our family. We're, I hope, able to write, right? I know it's kind of hard. I think over the past week or so, my nerves have kind of calmed a little bit in terms of, I don't know, a temporary normal and getting used to how things are. And I imagine a lot of people are probably that way. So I hope that a lot of you are starting to get back to the writing if you haven't continued it already. And I just think about this, and I think about what Dean Wesley Smith often calls the time of great forgetting. This is usually sometime in May, June. It's when things start to get really nice outside. It's summer, and writers focus on being outside. They focus on the great weather, and they do everything except write. And then when September, October comes along, when it starts getting a little cooler outside, at least here where I live, people kind of wake up and they say, huh, man, I didn't get any writing done. And I think to myself, I don't want to be that writer that wakes up at the end of this crisis when it's time to go back to work and the economy gets rebooted again. I don't want to be one of those writers that thinks, huh, man, I bet I could have gotten a lot more writing done during this crisis. So I forget who said it. It was an economist, I think, that a crisis is a terrible time to waste. And my question to everyone is, are you sleepwalking through this crisis, or are you navigating it with your eyes open? What is it that you're going to come out of on the other end of this crisis that you will have been grateful for getting done as a writer? Now, obviously, we want to survive. We want to try to not to get sick, and we want to mitigate the impacts as much as we can and navigate our job situations and take care of our families. But as a writer, that's going to be the thing I think that people think about last. But what is it that you can accomplish? And I've had a lot of time to think about that for myself. And one of the things that I want to make sure that I get through this crisis having accomplished is, one, making sure that I haven't missed any content, if possible, right? Heaven forbid I don't get sick and can't do this show, but it's possible, right? But I want to make sure that my content remains unbroken. The next thing I want to do now that my law school class is done, I want to get back to fiction, and I'm going to get back to fiction quick. So I'm going to get this course knocked out because I want to help some people with this. But after that, I'm going to get some fiction done. So if I can walk away from this crisis with half a novel done, or even a full novel, I think that's a huge win. So what is it that you want to get done? And it only has to be one or two things. Like, it does. I think the worst thing you can do is sit down and make like a huge punch list of all the things you want to do, just because you don't know what's going to happen with this stuff, the pandemic going on, right? You don't know if you're going to get sick. You don't know what's going to happen globally. You don't know what state government. I mean, in many respects, I feel like I'm living through this day by day, but I do know what I want to accomplish. And so my question to you is, what do you want to accomplish? And I had this thought because I was reading The Hot Sheet by Jane Friedman. And if you haven't read that, it is a newsletter that Jane Friedman does. And I think I've mentioned it on the show here in the past. It's every other week. And it is the latest information on what's going on in the publishing industry. And I was reading the episode or the issue this week, and I was reading a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, wow, So like I'm glancing through this here, and I highly recommend that you check it out. I'll put a link to it. But here we go. So Penguin Random House sees a tiny bit of growth in 2019, embraces itself for a downturn. Well, we all know what that is, right? We've got some copyright issues, coronavirus update, U.S. book sales update. So far, March has been a roller coaster of results, and I think we can all agree on that. There are certain types of books that are doing well, certain types of books that are not doing well in light of the crisis. Chain bookstores are suffering right now. Barnes & Noble closed more than 60% of its stores. Books A Million, half-price books, all closed, Independent bookstores, hugely suffering. I mean, how are they going to pay rent? How are they going to pay their employees? All over the world, there are countries that are reporting that they're going to have a tough year. Amazon seems to be doing okay, although I have to admit I am extremely disappointed in Amazon and how they have acted throughout this crisis. It just feels like they could be doing a lot more for their employees. That's just my perception, and I'm gonna leave it there. You do your own research on that. Wholesalers, distributors, suppliers, they seem to be okay, but who knows? Publishers and agencies. Having to do staff reductions, publishers doing acquisitions and having to cut off on them, doing layoffs, cutbacks. Small publishers might be threatened. I mean, I'm just going through this here. I mean, publishing events, that's where a lot of business gets done, right? There's not going to be a publishing event probably for quite some time. And I was going through this episode, this issue of the Hot Sheet, and I kind of read off some of the things that I noticed. And one thing I did notice in that episode? I keep saying episode, but my goodness. The one thing I didn't notice in that issue? It didn't say a thing about self-published writers. It didn't say a thing. The only thing it said was that ACX, as I think many of you probably know, did a pretty honorable thing, and they increased their royalties. And they increased their royalties for exclusive members and even non-exclusive authors. So, that's a pretty noble thing to do. I heard that they cut off royalties for promo codes, though, and some people are upset about that. I don't know why you would be upset about that. It's a promo copy. I don't know why you would want to get I mean, yeah, it's nice if you get royalties for it, but it's not what you think about, right? So we've got it pretty good right now, and I looked at my sales for the month and the month of March, and so far so good. I didn't really notice any hits. I did notice the last few days in March were maybe a little bit less than usual, but overall I came out right about the same amount as I did in February. So that's good. So maybe April will be a little bit different as we kind of ramp up into the more deadly parts of the virus as we get to the peak. But I would probably bet that a lot of self-published writers are having some pretty good days right about now because we're focused on ebooks and audio. For most of us, a small percentage of our books come in print, and honestly, people that are going to order our books in print, they're not going to bookstores anyway. So our print sales are probably not all that affected. So it's like as I go through this and I hear about traditional publishers suffering because people can't go to bookstores. I hear about bookstores suffering because they can't be open. Suppliers suffering. And we've got it pretty good. So my question again is, are you sleepwalking through this crisis, or do you have your eyes open? And if you have your eyes open, what is it that you want to accomplish? It's kind of like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're trying to navigate your way to the bathroom. Like, I don't know about the rest of you, but my daughter likes to leave her toys all over the floor, and she leaves her toys on the floor, and it's like before I go to bed, I have like this mental map of where all the toys are, like where exactly in the hallway they are, so that if I have to get up and go to the bathroom, I know where to step and where not to step. It's like landmines. Because there's nothing worse than stepping on a Lego at 3 o'clock in the morning when you wake up to go to the bathroom. So my question to you is, are you sleepwalking through this crisis? Can you see where all the landmines are right now? Because as self-published writers, we are incredibly fortunate, right? Now, I'm not going to minimize some of the impacts here that we're dealing with, particularly if you're a newer writer or if you're not a full-time writer that's making a lot of money yet. And that is, if you've lost your job or you're worried about your job, that is an impact, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't write. Like, even if you can't publish as many books as you want to right now, you can still write and you can still continue marketing your work. Advertising obviously has a cost, but you can still get your work out there and find ways to get it out there. And I just have to continuously say that we're in a far better position than a lot of people in the industry right now. And I think it just goes to show you how resilient we are as a group. Now, again, we're still untested as far as major crises and recessions go, and there's going to be some casualties. There are going to be some things that I think we all look back on this that maybe we could have done a little bit different. But wow, at where I'm sitting right now, what an amazing time to be a writer, because if you're a traditionally published writer right now, I would be a little concerned about the health of my publisher, but I would also be concerned about getting my royalties on time. And we don't have to worry about that. So that's just a great thing. I hope you take some time to be grateful for that. And remember, if you've been sleepwalking, I'm shaking you by the shoulder and I'm telling you to wake up. And what is that one or two things that you're going to accomplish coming out of this crisis that's going to make you better as a writer and make you stronger? That is my message for you this week. Hope everybody is doing well. I'll be back next week with more news, but in the meantime, I will holler at you next time. Peace. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaelaran.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaelaran.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.